Hey, hi everybody. How's everybody going today? 1 second, we'll get started here in a moment. Um, Everything is looking good. How's everyone doing today? I see Bam Sam is here, Larry, John, good to see you guys. Okay, sorry about the rocky start, but Uh, today, welcome to the photo editing live stream where I edit your photos using DxO Photolab 9. The goal here is to show you the tools that I use, my editing workflow, so that you can learn to use DxO photo editing and pick up a few tips and tricks along the way. Every 2 or 3 images, I like to pause and just answer any questions in the chat. If you have any questions about any of the tools that I used or some of the decisions I made. And that said, I'm not critiquing or judging the photos in any way. I'm going to be editing them exactly as if they were my own photos. So a lot of the choices in composition and lighting and things that I do will be very subjective to my taste, but it's in no way a judgment or critique of what you guys sent in or what your vision might be. Again, the goal is to show you the tools and editing workflow that I use, and hopefully you can learn from that. Okay, and thank you for the audio video check. I always forget to ask, but that's awesome. All right, so let me pull it up. And I got a lot of images today, but I'm gonna have to stop, make a hard stop right around 11 o'clock or in a couple hours. I have a event to go to today, so let's see if I can flip over. Of course. Why is there no screen? There we go. Perfect. All right. So we'll start here. One from William, and we have a little puffin here. Looks like you were shooting through some grass or something because there's a lot of halo here. But first thing I always like to do is just apply a default preset. I created one that applies noise reduction and sharpening, um, and a couple other very minor tweaks like optical corrections, which are all signature technologies of the DxO and why I think it's the best. And um, also, I do have my affiliate links down below. Just before we go a little bit further, if you'd like to download DxO, give it a try, or purchase DxO, I have a 15% discount code for new customers. And of course, I highly recommend it as my primary editor. And as I was saying, the first thing I like to do is just apply a basic or default preset that I created. You can download it from free from my website. Just go to robtrek.com and you'll see it in the top menu under downloads. So I'm going to go ahead and do that first. We'll just do default there. And from here, I'm going to try and I like to look at the overall composition, exposure, and white balance. And the exposure and white balance is fine, but the composition I'm going to change quite a bit, I think. Let's try 4:3 and just come in tight on this one puffin. Don't think we need to do much more. And I like to balance it, uh, the negative space around it best I can, and that looks pretty good. And I want to try to just bring out the face a little more, but maintain this sort of halo uh, created by the out of focus area here. So let me just maybe select the face. So I'm just going to use a local control point like this, and I'm going to back off the masking a bit. Maybe not the Luma. Let's try that. And just raise the luminance in steps here using the selective tone. Maybe overdone it there just a bit. Maybe add a little bit of clear views so we can see it a little better and some micro contrast. Okay, I think that's pretty good. And then let's go ahead and bring out the eyes. And again, I'll just use a control point. So I'm going to create a new mask and just work on the eyes just a bit. I always like the eyes to be a little bit brighter. So again, I'm going to try and just raise it up this way, but I'm going to add more clear view in here. And just make some very slight tweaks. And whenever I use selective tone, I like to try to keep this as straight a line as possible. And some micro contrast. I'm going to maybe just brighten the color a little bit as well. Maybe add some vibrancy. Just a little bit. Just to the eyes. Okay, so I'm going to just do a quick comparison here. And I think that's pretty good. Then I'm just going to enhance the vignette. So we'll make a new mask, another control point, and I'm going to expand that out roughly. And to make a vignette, I just invert the control point and turn the chroma and luma to 0, and then just start bringing the selective tones down. And I think this makes a much more natural vignette. Move this up and make it a little tighter. Maybe just bring in that's too much. I think it's fine just right there. Okay. I think that's all I need to do there. So we'll do a comparison against the original without the crop and my edit with the crop. And I may have clipped a little bit on the highlights here. No, it looks okay. Just a tiny bit, but that's okay. But yeah, the main goal is just to brighten the face a little bit in the eyes, as opposed to, let's check the fine detail. And yeah, much, much better. Maybe a little bit less uh, brightening around the eye, but other than that, I think that's where I would land on this eventually. Okay, let's go to the next one, and this one's from Larry. Oh, that's an interesting bird. I haven't seen that before. And I hit the F9 key to bring the panels in and out like this on my keyboard. So I'm going to level the bird a little bit. So first, let me do my default preset. And I'm just going to do a little bit of a horizon correction. So it's important that if you're going to make any changes on this panel in the geometry or local adjustments, you want to make sure you do all of your geometry first. Horizon corrections, skewing, keystoning, things like that. But I just want to tilt the bird so it's a little bit more level. Like so. I think that looks a little better. And then we'll just come in a little bit tighter. Like that. And we'll just keep, well, let's see, maybe we can maybe not that tight, but right about there. Wanted to keep the bird on the right side. Okay, I like that. Uh, so I'm going to bring out maybe the iris a little bit because I do see a little bit of color in here, and also bring up the shadow areas, and maybe add a little bit of warmth to the background as well. So again, I'm going to do local adjustments on this. So let me go over here. I'll do the eyes a little bit later. I want to just kind of get the background maybe. So I'm going to use the AI tool in this case to select the background. And all I want to do here is just make it a little bit warmer. Maybe even just give it a little more contrast. Just adjust this to taste. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then let's work on the bird. So I think control points would be the best way to go here. It's a little bit tighter on the luminance. So I don't want to affect the background, only the shadow areas. Something like that. Let's see if I can start here. That's a bit too much. Just do that, but let's try some clear view and micro contrast just to see if we can get a little more detail, like the highlights to show using micro contrast. Okay, I think that works. I don't think I need to do this side, but let me see what that looks like. Yeah, just a little bit's fine. Right in there. And then let's work on the eye. And we'll make a new mask, control point, and I'm going to drop the control point right on this brownish area here, because that's the area I want to affect the most. I'll bring this in, and let's make a little tighter on the chroma this time. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and try and brighten that area up. Very good. Add some clear view, a little bit of micro contrast. Okay, and the beak, maybe a little bit of shine there. So another control point. No, let's use a masking brush. I'm just going to highlight the beak and see if I can bring out a little bit more detail. Let's try micro contrast first. I'm going to push on the shadows. And some clear view. Let's see. Yeah, that works. And the red is just a hair bit saturated for my taste. So I'm going to go over here to the color wheel, just drop the dropper on the red that's bothering me the most. I think it's this red. We'll just pull it back just a hair. Okay. And the beak, the talons, maybe a little bit more light on the talons. So I'll just use a masking brush again, plus sign. Mm, I'm hitting the Alt key on my keyboard. I'm just gonna try and get rid of some of this haloing I got. I should have made a little less feathering on the brush. That's fine. Oh, let me turn the flow up on this one. Make sure I get it all. All right, and then we'll add a little bit in here. Just take a little off the edges. Okay. Okay, a little bit more off. I'm not too picky about every pixel when I'm doing things like this. All right, good enough. So let me look at the talons. Yeah, talons look better. Okay, we'll call it there. So there's the original on the left. Now, I have no doubt this bird is actually kind of crooked in the scene, right? That he's kind of leaning off this branch. But so I just straightened it out. And then I did off center the bird a little bit in the frame just to kind of balance it with this stick. And let's go ahead and just do a slider and just check the fine detail on the bird. Yeah, that looks really good, especially on the eye. The eyes are always the most important thing, right? So that looks pretty good. All right, let's go to the next one. And we have cedar waxwing, very nice, getting some water. So let's apply default preset, and I'll probably darken the background. We definitely need to straighten the horizon a bit. And maybe let's just come in a little tighter. Ooh, this is a Nikon D500. Ah, classic. I think that'll do. Now let's go to the AI tool and just select the background. Maybe select this too. So I'm hitting the shift key as I'm selecting things so it's all within the same mask. And then let's just try and temper that just a bit. Maybe go this way. And give it a little warmth. Maybe saturate it a bit too. Let's try vibrancy, and yeah, I think that looks pretty good. And then let's pull in the blacks a little more. Okay, so the bird itself is pretty well exposed. So I'm just going to select the whole bird and maybe just add some clear view and some micro contrast. And then let's and some vibrancy just to bring out the colors a bit more. A little bit of saturation too. That's good. And then let's just a slight curve. Yeah. All right, now let's work on the eye. So I'll make a new mask. Don't think I'll be able to pull the iris out, but let's just spread in there. And just push the shadows. Maybe spread this out just a bit. And there's a little drop of water there. So let me see if I can make that with make that a bit more specular with some micro contrast. Clear view. Okay. Um, okay, I think that's it. So we'll do the original image with no crop, and then my edited image here. Um, so basically saturation and contrast, right? And brighten the eye. That's about it. And a little bit of a crop. And we can just come in here and check the detail. Yeah, that looks really good. Really brought out a lot. It's perfect. Okay, let me check the chat section real quick. Looks like there's a lot going on over here. So Heather's here, Ethan's here, good to see you. Bamsam said, I think, William says, I had to lay low because I was quite close and wouldn't scare them. Okay. Um, so, so yeah, grass blur. Yeah, no big deal. It kind of works. It's something different, right? Because everybody gets a clear shot of these puffins. It's kind of nice to get something a little different sometimes. And Heather loves the puffins, and Larry says, "Oh, a vermilion flycatcher. Wow, that's cool. Never seen one before. It looks a little bit like a chickadee, right? Because of the eyes, I think. Or maybe I'm getting that all wrong, but really cool. Like this bird, it looks a little bit like it's wearing a mask, right? Like Robin, from Batman and Robin, that is. And EDC Adventures, Robin 5 mask would be a good minimum megapixels if I crop from a 33 megapixel 3 to 5. Yes, 3 to 5 is ideal. That's what I usually crop down to. Like this image here, for example, um, of this bird, I eventually cropped down to, oops, I cropped down to roughly 3 by 2, roughly about 3, what's that, 29 plus 8, so that'd be 3 by 1. This is roughly 3 megapixels right here on this bird, just as a frame of reference from the original, right? Which was, the original was 20 megapixels. So right in here is only 3 megapixels, believe it or not. So we threw away a lot, but we still got great detail, I think. Very good question. I mean, I've cropped down to less than 1 megapixel sometimes, and it's okay. Let's see. And Ethan says, so for my Sangrain image, it's a view of 1.6 millimeters left to right, focus stack of 140 images, and a macro rail and tube with 10x objective. Wow, you really went all out. Stacked in Helicon, which is the software, method C, and Godox LEDs. Okay, very interesting. And I answered this one, and I go back and forth with Olympus 10X objective and the Zeiss Jena Simpton 6.3. Much less working space with that, but sharp. Yeah, working space is always an issue, right? When you're doing macro work. I mean, sometimes it's like this much. It's very hard to work with that. And the Olympus is an M-Plan FLN 10X. Ah, okay. I assume that's a flash based on the FL acronym there. And good morning, Dan. Good to see you. All right, let's go back to the editing. A lot of birds today. So, oh, we've seen this bird before. I can't remember the name of it, but I think we'll do some very similar editing here. So let me apply. I'm going to do extra sharp on this one because we did get a lot of pixels on this bird. And let's just crop in a little bit to the left. Maybe a little more. And I'm going to go ahead and select the background. Oops. Let's make a mask. Let's try select background because I'm just trying to use the eyedropper to kind of go around, but it's not selecting everything. So I'm just going to do background. Yeah, that works pretty well. Let me just darken it a little bit. And I may even blur it a little bit. I'm going to try something new. I'm going to try and blur this. Oh, I can't do it that way. All right. Let's add a submask. I might fail at this, but let me just blur from here to here. About 20%. And then select the bird. Ugh, that's terrible. It didn't quite get the bird just right. All right, let's forget it. I don't do it very often, so I'm a little bit, I think that'll do. And then let me turn off this blur. Okay. Let's just brighten up the eyes here, maybe fill in a little bit of shadow here, and that's about it. So let's make a new mask with a control point. I'll just go ahead right into the eye. It's a little bit there in the brown. Tighten up the chroma in this case. And let's just push it like that. Okay, good. And then let's do a little bit on the beak. The beak needs to be a little bit sharper. So I think it's a depth of field issue. It looks like your shutter speed is fine, but I mean, it almost looks like motion blur in here, but your shutter speed is pretty solid, so I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it's depth of field. So I'm going to try, let's add a little bit of color and then see if we can sharpen it. I can probably do the same thing for the eye. Let me go back to the eye. Go down here. Wait for that to render. Oh, my computer's slowing down here. Okay, I think that's good. All right, let's try and fill the shadows in a bit. So maybe let's do a control point. But I'm going to spread this out. Oops, need to make a new mask. And then create the control point here. Spread that out. And that looks like a pretty good mask. I'm just going to push across the board here. Let's see how that goes. Let's add some clear view and micro contrast. And try that. Okay, I think that works. Now the eye, I may have overdone it a bit, so let me go back to that. Let's just back off a little bit on the eye. And then maybe temper the highlight a bit. So let's make a new mask. Temper the highlights. Right about there. Okay, gosh, that eye is really soft. Meaning it's, yeah, I better fix that. Looks like I put too much sharpening. I'll back that off a bit. Let's see if we can just, yeah, that's a little better. Okay, let's add a little warmth. What if I put the dropper here on this grayish area? Let's see what we get. Yeah, that's better. All right. Let's go ahead and compare side by side. Yep, the original. All right, so just a slight crop and then warming it up and then adjusting some of the shadow areas, and that was it. And we can go into the fine details. Let's go in somewhere in here. Yeah, much better. Yeah, I mean, look at all the noise that got cleaned up. Ah, beautiful, beautiful bird. All right, so there's my final edit. Okay, and then let's go to the next one here. This one's from Michael. And okay, so there's a little green down arrow here. So that means I need to download the optics module that makes optical corrections and does some dynamic intelligent sharpening based on their database, etc. It's one of their key technologies that I think really make DxO stand out. A Nikon Coolpix P7800. Okay, interesting. Not quite familiar with that camera. It's a 12 megapixel something. While that's downloading, the first one always takes a few minutes. Not a few minutes, but less than a minute. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's go ahead and start with my default preset. And I'm going to just brighten this up to see what we have inside the shadows, because I can't really see them. So this building has some reddish banners and striping on the side. That's interesting. And I love this tungsten glow coming through the windows and the glow from the street lights. Okay, so let's work with that. So I will brighten this up just globally a bit. I like to think about the exposure. And I'm going to try and get there right there. And then I'm going to try and temper the highlights in here just locally, but I think that's a good starting point for the exposure. And I get why you did this. You wanted to preserve the highlights, hence you dialed in a negative 0.7, which is always a good idea. We can just put a control point over here and just pull the highlights in. A lot of them aren't recoverable. That's okay. Do the best we can there. Probably use the same. Yeah, these are all clipped in here, I think. That's good. All right. So I'm going to try and bring out the shadows in here just a little bit and then emphasize some of the glow. So let's make a new mask, select the AI tool. I think I can get the whole building in like that. I want this building to stand out a bit. Maybe not quite that much. It's a micro contrast and clear view. And let's just give it a little warmth. Right about there. And let's see if I can bring out some of the red I was looking at. Yeah, just a little bit. Like that. And the yellows. Maybe raise the luminance on the reds. There we go. That looks good. Gosh, I went right to the exposure. I didn't even think about the overall composition. Um, thinking maybe I should crop a little bit. See what this looks like in 16 by 9. Maybe come up about here. Okay. Let's go back to the local adjustments. Let's make a new mask. I'm going to select the water. Give it some clear view. Touch a micro contrast. Maybe saturate the yellows and oranges. So I'm going to spread the color wheel out. Okay, and then let's just add a little bit of glow here and there. So I'm going to use a control point here. Just wherever I see some lights. Maybe here, and here, here, here. A little bit extra here. Maybe a little extra in here. Those look good. Okay. I'm going to add a little bit of warmth. All right. Let's see if I can do anything with that sky. Let's make a new mask. I don't think so, but I'm going to try. No, I think it's fine. Somewhere in here. And then let's warm up this snowy area here. So I'm going to go back up, make a new mask. Let's just use the AI tool. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of warmth. Just a taste. Maybe push the shadows a little bit. All right, we'll call it there. So here's the original. I guess that's a 4x3 crop. I think the 16 by 9 works pretty well. Don't know if I balanced it quite right. It's a little bit too much sky. Maybe go right about there. I think that's better. But I really wanted to bring out the colors in this building, particularly this sort of burgundy red in here, because you can't see it at all over here. And then just some of this was just brightening that I did initially. I brought another stop of light back in. And that's it. That's the final edit. Maybe increase the saturation on these blues a little bit. I'll just go to the color wheel. Just select in here somewhere. Yeah, that's good. All right, very good. Let's go to the next one. And this is a JPEG. So let's go ahead and download the optics module. So I won't have as much flexibility, particularly on the sky, but it's an older Pentax K 20D. Wow, that is an oldie. With a Tamron 70 to 300, man. So let's go ahead and apply. Let's do default. And I think what I want to do is, I don't have the flexibility like in a RAW, but I want to sort of bring out these dead trees and the buildings, and then maybe a little more detail in the sky, and then darken the water. But composition, I think 16 by 9 again. Maybe even, let's do 16 by 7. I think that works. Okay. Gosh, I could even do a 65 by 24. Make it just look like a pano. Yeah. And we'll just add in a little bit of there. So I just told the DxO to just automatically crop where it needs to be. Uh, but it didn't do a good job. Let me bring this down. I think right there looks good. Okay. Now, white balance is another thing that's difficult to do on a JPEG, but this image is a bit too cool. So I'm just going to try and warm it up a bit. Okay. And let's go ahead and let's select the water. I can't do too much. Let's select the sky. Make it a little bit brighter. It's a little sensor spot there. Let's see if I can fix that real quick. Okay. This warmth, I overdid it a bit. Might need to warm up the sky even a little bit more. Oh, I can't do it. This is what I'm hoping they fix in the next version, is you can adjust white balance on local adjustments. You can't do it right now. So let me give the sky just a little bit brighter. You can do it with raw images, but with RGBs like JPEGs and TIFFs, you cannot do white balance. All right, I think that's good. Now let's work on these trees a little bit. I might have to, let me see if I can do it this way, using this rectangle tool. We'll do that tree and this tree. Did spill a little bit. Let me try again. That's good. And that tree, a little bit in there. Maybe that tree. Let me move this mask up into here. There. Okay, now I have all the trees in this one mask. I'm going to try and start with micro contrast. Touch a clear view. And then let's see if we can push the exposure a bit. Getting a little bit of webbing in the sky. I might have to go back to that. I'm seeing like here and down in here. But let me see where we're at. The trees are getting to where I like them. I'm just going to continue pushing this a little bit. Okay. All right, let's fix some of this like webbing that I see. So we need to go back to the mask for the sky. And we'll just use a regular brush. I'm going to put the flow up to 40%. Make a submask. Let's see if that makes a difference. Yeah. Perfect. Just a little bit here and there. All right, good enough. It's a really strong teal color in this image. I wonder if I can shift it at all. It's a green. Let's see if I can shift it a little more blue. I'm going to try also a different color profile. Let's try portrait. Portrait 2. Portrait 3. I think I liked Portrait 2 the best. Okay. Let me go to the color wheel. No. Slight shift there. All right, I'm just going to brighten the houses over there a little bit. I'll just use, let me get a new mask. I'm just going to use the auto masking brush. Right there is good. All right, let's call it there. So that's, there's a damn mosquito in here. Anyway, the image on the left is a very cool in terms of temperature. I just wanted to warm it up a little bit. I'd say that's the most dramatic change, and then nice wide crop. Uh, I could probably just give a little extra saturation. Let me go back to the global. Maybe a little bit of vibrancy. Okay, that'll do. All right, so we'll go back to the original. So that's my final edit. But the main thing was I wanted to make the trees a little stand out a little bit more. So I darkened the water to increase, because right now the tree and the water are about the same luminance. So you can see over here, I brighten the trees up and darken the water so there's better separation. Um, and then the skies also were pretty much the same luminance as the rest of the scene. So I brightened the skies up quite a bit. And I think that makes for more, just a little bit more depth and dynamics to the scene. I was a little sloppy over here, but when I'm just editing fast, it's perfectly fine. But if this image was important to you, you could take a little more time masking those than I did. All right, let's go to the next one. And this one is from Ethan. And I forget what it was. You were saying that something last week about, let me just check. Was it the spots here? I think it was these spots and things you wanted me to try to minimize, right? As you can see, there's some over here. These are easy to do. This gradient, this is a JPEG too. So it's a little trickier, but that's what you get when you do focus stacking a lot of times. So what I'm going to do is just brighten up the subject here, darken the blacks, do a little brush here, and maybe center the image just a little bit. Let's do that first. Maybe like that. And let's go ahead and select, oh, let me apply a preset. If preset doesn't really apply here though. But the reason I say that is because, this has been already processed in focus stacking software. So a preset really is not going to be as effective, and it may do more harm than good. Well, let's work with roughly that. And go back to the local adjustments. Let's select, I wonder, let's select the stone. We'll make sure that looks nice and specular with some clear view and micro contrast. Even go down here, maybe just add a little bit of extra sharpening too. And then let's select the rock. So we'll make a new mask. And we'll give it some clear view. Maybe not quite as much. But it could use maybe a little vibrancy. And a little, I can't do white balance. All right, so let's make a new mask. And I'm going to select background. Let's see how that works. Oh, couldn't find the background. Okay. So we'll just do it manually. And I want to keep this reflection because there's a very minor reflection there, right? So I may have to come back to that. Yeah, that works. So let's make a new mask and see if I can do something with that reflection. Let's try just a regular what do they call this? Graduated filter. Can even go higher. Let's add some color. The midtones are a bit too strong. I'm going to select the orange and yellows and just maybe brighten those. Something like that. Okay, I'm going to go back to the stone. Stone just needs a little bit more punch. Not the stone, I'm sorry, that grain of sand. Okay, we'll call it there. Oops, oops. All right, so here's the original. I just did a vertical crop and then sharpened it, basically. So let's do a fine detail. I may have overdone it with the sharpening. Let's do a split view. Yeah. Overdid it a little bit. I can see a little bit of grain in here. I can just back off the sharpening a little bit, I think, to fix that. Let's see. Right about there. Okay, that's not bad. But okay. Hope you like that, Ethan. Looking good. Do one more. Apply basic. Let's do extra sharp on this one. And it's slightly overexposed. The question is, how do I deal with this without making, okay, let me just go over here. I just want to get a feel for, yeah, that's about the right exposure. I think that's a good starting point. And a little bit of a tilt. I like the eyes to be kind of level. And then I don't think I need to crop anything. Looks good the way it is. Let's go ahead and just brighten the eye a bit. Give it some clear view. And probably need to sharpen a bit too. Looks think that's good. Okay. Maybe a bit too much. All right, right there. Let's make a new mask. Let me add a little bit of saturation in here. And I should probably warm up the image in general before I do too much. Yeah. Eyedropper right on this white fur, maybe. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. I'll back it off just a little bit. And looking good so far. I don't think I need to do anything else. Maybe add a vignette. Whoops. So let's invert that. I meant to put chroma and luma to 0. And we'll bring this in. Diffusion. Okay. Just vignette a little bit. Really give it some depth. And I think globally, I might be able to just add a little bit back in. Okay. So that's the original on the left. Just a little bit overexposed for some reason. And I think a little faster shutter speed would have helped with the, I'm seeing a little bit of blur in the eyes, like a motion blur maybe. But overall, that looks pretty good. We just had to bring the color back. And most of that was done by just lowering the exposure. But then when I did that, the eyes got too dark. So I brightened the eyes. And there you go. So, oh, this one's from Heather. Okay. Very good. Oops, I'm sorry. Excuse me 1 second. All right, sorry about that. It's my mom. Have to answer when she calls. Okay, so we were looking at this deer, right? Let's go to, oh, let me go to the chat before I go to the other ones here. And couldn't understand the blue barrels on the roof of the house just right before the center. Oh, I wonder if you're talking about this picture. Oh, that is interesting. Huh. I have no idea what that is. Okay. Good catch there. You saw that and I didn't. I'm hoping that they'll have the issue fixed with the shutter release. Oh, yeah. Um, why is, I don't understand. Anyway, yeah, we'll talk about that on Sunday. Today I do mostly editing, Anthony, but I totally get where you're coming from. And yes, Jeff, they are. I almost did a sand pix using 60 Mac. Oh, that's for Jeff. I'm not sure where that conversation went. And XMET is here. The OM1 Mark II is still okay, but we need some EPL line. Yes. And since I've liked the results with the objectives, when I really want standout image with all the detail, I can muster. Yes. You're a master at that really, that's a grain of sand. If for people that don't know, that's a little tiny grain of sand. I can tell you the technical side of capturing it is pretty impressive in of itself with all the things that Ethan is doing. But the skill to be able to stack a piece of sand on top of another piece of sand, that's that's on another level. Just saying. Um, this image here, you're talking about something that's fractions of a millimeter in diameter. It's crazy. And do you recommend anything like DxO Pure or does Photolab do everything you want it to? So that's a good question. So Pure Raw is a preprocessor, does the core technologies of optics module and denoising, right? They've also added, I think, maybe some masking and smart lighting. Those are nice to have, but not a big deal. But then you take that exported DNG or TIFF file and edit using your favorite editor. So, for example, Lightroom or um, Workspace, whatever software you use to edit your photos. And DxO does everything I want. Photolab does in terms of editing the software on top of the pre-processing, which it does everything PureRAW does, but it also has all of the tools that I need to edit a photo. The exceptions being it doesn't do like layering, so I can't like take two different images and layer them on top of each other. Like if I want to do exposure bracketing or HDR, if I want to do focus stacking, or if I want to do panoramas, all of these are layering type uh, processes. And Photolab doesn't do any of that. So I rely on third-party software, Helicon Focus for my focus bracketing, AutoPanic Giga for my panoramas, and Nik Collection for my HDR. Uh, uh, and there's free options out there, but all of these that I just discussed are better than Lightroom's equivalents of HDR, panorama, and focus stacking. So I prefer the results I get with the paid software. So even if I owned Lightroom, I would still probably buy those three softwares because they are superior to Lightroom Photoshop in that respect for those specific features. Um, I guess that's the main thing that Photolab does not do is the layering, and any kind of processing that you would do in layering, it's not going to happen. So I still rely on Lightroom and Photoshop for my professional work because I don't do simply HDR. I do more exposure blending, which is a little bit different than HDR. and I can't do that in Photolab. Uh, Supposedly I could do that in GIMP, but the workflow is not as smooth going from say Photolab to GIMP. But that would be a workaround that wouldn't cost me any money, like the subscription I pay every month to Photolab. But if you can live without those, I think the workflow, the final output image, the quality of the final output is superior to any other photo editing software out there. And can you do a poll asking those of us use DxO products, how many of us want to see DxO add photo stitching capabilities to DxO software? There's no poll needed. Everybody wants that. The question is, how well are they going to do it? If they add it and it sucks, there's no point. If they add it, it does a similar job to Lightroom and some other, all-in-one type stuff, that's fine. But I know a lot of people have been asking for that in the DxO forum. So if you go to DxO's website, they have a user forum. Stitching is one of the #1 questions. And when I attend the Zoom call meetings or whatever, that comes up all the time as well. So focus stacking, stitching, like for panoramas and built-in HDR, because these are things that are in Lightroom, and everybody wants to see those in Photolab. So for me, it's not as critical because, like I said, the third-party software I use, I prefer over Lightroom and Photoshop for those specific features. Like AutoPan Giga is free, and it works better than Photoshop's by far. I consistently get better stitching with AutoPan Giga, things that Photoshop can't even stitch at all sometimes. And uh, what I'd like to see actually in the next release, would be a really good AI removal tool, because the AI selection is really good, but they need to improve the removal tool because, you know, editing, sometimes I need to get rid of a branch or get rid of like some distraction in the image, and just using the repair tool or clone tool is not that great. Doesn't get as good a result. So for me personally, I'd like to see a much better AI removal tool than exists now, because they're not using AI to do the removal. It's just a simple brush for repair, which is kind of a blending, or cloning, which just copies from another part of the image. In the spirit of Comic-Con, I send you one of my photos that was a portrait of a girl was taken in the sun with flash but got washed out. Okay, I didn't see that today. I might have to do it next week. Because I'm coming up on almost 11 o'clock when I have to go. Photolab that Rob is using has Pure Raw built in. Yes. So yeah, Photolab has Pure Raw built in. So you don't need to buy Pure Raw separately. And sorry if that's not always clear that you get Pure Raw when you buy Photolab. It's not always necessarily obvious, but it is. And no Paul Crisp today. You're right. And then Rorzo looks like got deleted. And okay, we'll see your edit there. And Marsha's here. Good to see you. And Shakabe, good to see you. And one little alien. Hello, Rob. Please. I've just uploaded a picture from my old Canon 70D. Where am I not able to edit the photo in DxO? Any advice? Okay. I'll try. I'll try and get to anything that's come in. But I can't promise I can do it today. And let's see. Ethan. Oops. Ethan is maestro of macro. Yes, very, very well put. Rob, can you make a recipe in DxO Photolab to mimic a Limbus recipe like Color Profile 3 or Mono 2? I like DxO Deep Prime, but I like Olympus Color more. Um, Possibly. Possibly. I will try. Let me make a note. So you want Olympus Olympus color profile 3. This would be like the Pen F and the OM3 that have the color creator dial on the front. What was the other one? And Mono 2. Okay, Mono 2 would be very easy. It's just simply contrast, a little adjustment in the tone curve. Color profile 3, that's going to take a little more time to tweak, but yeah, I can already kind of see what I need to do that. It wouldn't be too hard. It'd be a little bit more work. Monochrome profile 2 is pretty straightforward. I could probably do that very easily. Okay, off topic, nice watch. Can you tell us about it? Uh, okay. I guess you mean, are you talking about my watch? It's just a Seiko 5. Nothing special. Mechanical watch. It's very common. You can find these everywhere. I think I only got it paid like 80 bucks or something for it. It's probably 100 now, but yeah. All right, let's go to Shakib already sent his edit in, so I need to do my edit. So I'm going to do a quick preset. We'll do extra detail. And let's straighten the horizon a bit. And I think a square crop for this guy. Oh, but we're going to lose the reflection. No, not necessarily. I think we keep the reflection and get keep a square crop. All right, so let's go ahead and select the water and just make that a little bit shinier. It doesn't need to be much darker, but just a little bit more glitter, like so. Maybe a little more. Okay, good. And then let's bring out the eye just a little bit more. So I need to make this smaller. Okay, and then let's temper the highlights on this beak. Maybe add some saturation back in and a little bit of sharpening. Okay, and then let's bring up the shadows in the back. So another mask. I'll just use a control point. I need to use smaller ones. I don't want to affect the water too much. Maybe a brush would be better, but let me try it this way. Tighten up the luma a bit. Just add it this way. Yeah, that's going to mess with the water. Uh, I think a brush will be better. So let's do that. New mask. Brush. A masking brush. I'm getting a little bit of haloing. Maybe some micro contrast to bring it out more. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Let me go ahead and select the bird. just with the AI mask. Actually, specifically, I actually just wanted the legs. Just want to temper the highlights a bit there and some micro contrast. And then let's select the bird and see if I can just introduce a little warmth and color. Maybe not that much. Something like that. Okay, we'll call it there. So that's the original, you know, with the crop, but that's the actual original, was the vertical done. I assume to capture the reflection. Um, and then we can check the fine detail. Yeah, it's a big difference, right? It's a little bit of chromatic aberration here I would work on. Let me see if I can do that. It would be in the detail panel, I think. I don't know if that's going to do it. A little bit, yeah. A little bit too much. Something like that. Okay. That's a little better. But yeah, very nice. Got rid of the noise, as you can see in here, and brought back all of this fine feather detail. And just this is Shakab's edit, just for comparison. Not too dissimilar, a lot of the same things, just with a vertical crop and sort of a shift to the cooler side on the white balance. I think, say, compared to mine, mine is warmer and a square crop, right? But yeah, Shakab always does a good job with his edits. I always like to see his. Okay, let's go to the next one. And we have a rodeo. So let's apply a basic preset. And we definitely need to do some corrections here. Perspective, maybe. Yeah, that's good. So we just need to brighten up this area here, basically, and then temper all the highlights in the background, right? So let's try with a control line. Right about there is good. And I'm going to put the eyedropper on the brightest part over there. See if I can just bring that in a bit, like so. And then let's select. I'm still thinking about the composition though. Gosh, let me. I don't think, since the audience is not packed, it's just a couple of people there, I might go with something a little tighter. A little bit off the bottom. Or maybe just avoid those highlights altogether. Yeah, I think I'll go with this. Okay. So let's select this and let's try this rectangle tool. Okay, now I'm going to add this in here. Okay, and let's just brighten him up a bit. About right there. Add some vibrancy, touch of saturation. And let's just brighten the face up a little bit. Just push the midtones a bit. Okay, maybe see if I can bring out some of the dirt down here too. Just try brush. Let's try micro contrast. Okay. One more stroke in here and here. And I'm going to go back to the cowboy. I'm just going to back this off a little bit. And then let's select the dirt in general. Just make it a tad darker. Not that much. Okay, I think I'll call it there. All right, so there's the original. Basically captured the entire, well, a quarter of the arena here. And I think this, obviously this is the most important thing, at least to me, in the frame. And everything else wasn't really needed. If there was anything interesting going on up here, like let's say that it was full and everybody's standing up waving their arms and stuff, then I'd probably keep it. But as it is, you just have just a couple of people just watching. So I thought, this was the most interesting part there. Okay, let's go to the next one. And I will need to get the optics module, so another new camera, or a new lens in this case, the 50 to 200 2.8 from Panasonic. That lens is a gem. Everything I've seen from that, like online, not here, but online, has been amazing. I'll wait for this to download. Part of why it takes so long is my hard drives have to spin up because they go to sleep while I'm editing. All right, there we go. So let's go ahead and apply. Let's do extra detail again. And just a slight crop off the top right. I think that's all we need. And the eyes do have a little bit of an iris there. Don't know if I can bring out much. Let me see. Just a little bit, and I'll add a little bit of warmth. Okay, let's do the same thing for the beak. Just going to use the masking brush. And I want it to have a little bit more color. Okay. And then let me go ahead and select the bird. And let's just crank up the vibrancy there. And we'll select the background and just temper that a bit. Give it some color. Maybe shift it a little bit cooler. Or a lot warmer. Nah, I think just around there is good. How about some magenta? No. Green? No. Right there is perfect. Uh, maybe a little bit less green. Right there. I think that's it. So just a little bit of a crop, and then just worked on the details. The bird is illuminated fairly evenly, so there wasn't really much to do except maybe brighten the eye a tiny bit. So we can just kind of go in and see if we're able to bring a little bit of, yeah, a little bit extra detail in there, right? Especially I like the iris, just a little bit of an accent there on the iris. And then of course bringing out the details on the feathers. All right, do one more here. And have a landscape, so let's apply, oops, apply a preset. And I'll just do a default. And this is, I think, a 16 by 9 will look good. We'll try and balance that a bit. Right about there. Okay. Let's do some local adjustments and then maybe make it a little, well, let me make it a little warmer first. No, we'll locally warm things up. Let me see, the foreground. I don't know if I need to do anything here. Let's go ahead and just select the foreground. See if I can just give it a little bit more oomph. Just a touch. I'm going to grab a brush, new mask. Just touch up the shadows a bit. Oh, let me go a little bit smaller. A little bit here. That looks terrible. Okay. And then let's make a new brush. I'm going to do masking brush this time. Just going to just kiss a couple areas in here. Just add a little bit of warmth. Okay, a little less green. All right, good. And let's try, so new mask. I'm just going to use a control line and just gradually blend into the background. So I don't want to lose the softness that I have here. Be a little bit of micro contrast, touch of warmth. Okay, and one more brush. Just get a little bit in here. A little bit off here. That looks good. All right, I think I'll call it there. So nice shot, not much to do actually. I think just a little push in the shadow and contrast, and you can pretty much use this straight out of camera, but I did a little bit extra to highlight, you know, the sun coming onto falling onto the mountains in the background and a little bit in the foreground. I missed a spot right here. But other than that, that's pretty close to what I would do. Um, and a little bit of a crop. I just didn't like this empty space right here. So I just cropped it into right there. And I think that came out pretty nice. Beautiful shot. Okay. Uh, thanks, Rob. It's a frozen lake. Oh, yeah, that makes sense on the bird, right? And you couldn't see the face. Yeah, I forget exactly which Seiko. It's their cheapest Seiko 5. Okay, let's go to, I got about 10 minutes. I can do a little bit more. I need to find the right screen. So Heather sent in her edit. So let me download that. I'm going to download something from Martin. Martin Felix, I think. The name popped up too quick for me to read that properly. Sorry. And then one from Lexar. Lexar. Okay. All right. So let's see. This is Heather's edit. Oh, nice. Nice crop. Really nice crop. Say compared to mine, I didn't crop at all. I just kept everything in. But that's a nice crop. I think just a little bit, still a little bit overexposed for my taste, but very nice. And then I straighten the horizon a tiny bit so that the eyes are level, right? Okay, and then let's see. This one here, Martin. Wonder why I can't pull this up. What I might have to do is convert that. Oh, this is, this is another interesting limitation in Pura, or I'm sorry, well, Pura, it would apply to Pura as well. But DxO Photolab and I assume Pura, for that matter, does not work with small RAWs, right? Because some cameras, like in this case the Canon, I also know the Sony, you can use something called small RAW, right? And it's already, so small RAW basically processes the image a little bit and compresses it. And DxO cannot deal with that. It likes to deal with the full, uncompressed, raw image that it can demosaic properly. Because some demosaicing goes on when you use a small RAW, and then DxO can't deal with it. So what you can do as a workaround if you run into this, like just now, is convert it to a TIFF file using Adobe Bridge, which is a free software. Assuming Adobe Bridge recognizes the camera and lens, or the camera, it can do it. All right, so let's go over to this other one. There was one other one that came in, but I'm going to go back and I'll convert the other one. But we can do this one real quick. This one is from XR. Okay. So let's apply a preset. We'll just do a regular default. And it feels a little bit crooked. What if the automatic does? Yeah, that's good. Well, that's fine. What is that, a mirror right here? Interesting. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go kind of dramatic on this one. So let me underexpose it. And composition-wise, I don't think I need to do much else. So let me underexpose this quite a bit. Maybe to about there. And let's cool it off. And then I need to spot. I'll use a control point. And let's bring the exposure down up there as well. Okay. All right, now let's try a control line. Make a new mask. And move this up. Where's that light? It's right there. Okay, I'm going to select that. I don't want to illuminate this though. I'm just trying to select the brightest parts of this I might have to use a control point, so because that's going to affect too much. So let me do a control point. Whoops. And we'll select sort of the brighter area. Okay, let's try and bring this back a little bit with some warmth. Like that. And expand that out. A bit less warmth. And add some exposure back in. Okay, not bad. What up here? No, not so much there. Something in here though. Okay, good. Let's do another one on the chair. Something about like that. And then another control point down here. And a little bit of warmth. Some more warmth. Okay, this chair is a little rough. Too much. Okay, maybe just a drop in here. Oops, on this table. A little bit extra on that pot. We'll do a separate one for that. I want just a little extra on the pot. All right. Yeah, a little smaller. Okay, and then let's kill the light up in here. Oops, move that up. There. And then let's bring the light back on here. Like that, and the same thing on that one. And then just a little bit more light here. All right, I think that's it. So uh, that's the original on the left. I didn't do any cropping or anything. Um, I really like this area right in here, but I didn't want to lose sort of the motivation for the lighting over here. Maybe a little bit more light on that pot. Let me see. Where did I put that pot? I'll just do a quick and dirty. Okay. So that's what I would do there. Because it's just way too much light. And there's light here, but I don't think we need that one. So I should have brushed it out because you can almost see it there. But okay. Now it feels a little bit more, I don't know, warmer, more surreal. I can make it even more surreal by going into the detail panel and just throwing in some negative sharpening like this. And whoops, not that. So it's unsharp mask. Oh, I don't have the, I'd have to do it another way. But just to soften the image a little bit. Okay, let's go to Adobe Bridge. And I need to, I wonder if I can just grab that file. Where is it? This one. I wonder if I can just drag that into Adobe Bridge. Oh. Oh crap. I didn't mean to open up Photoshop. Hold on. I could have right clicked this and export, I think. Export, custom export. Save to the original. Export as a TIFF. No compression, 16-bit. Scale. All metadata. And I'm going to pick ProPhoto RGB. That should give me the biggest color gamut that I can work with. And we'll export that. Is that it? Let's see if that, let me see if that exported. So just the RGBs. No, it did not. Where did it go to? Export, custom export. Oh, it went to one of my client folders. Hold on. We need to go here. Select as TIFF. No compression. ProPhoto. All right. Now that should be it. There it is. All right, now I can edit this. I don't think I can apply the optics module, but I'm going to go ahead and do my default preset. We have like a ledge over here and then a cliff here. Um, I think composition-wise, something along these lines. I think that works better. And then let me just do smart lighting, some clear view, a little bit of contrast, and then we'll brighten up the maybe just AI tool. Brighten up that guy a little bit. And then this person just a little bit. Let me go back to the global. And just a little brighter overall. Maybe a tad bit of warmth, or just looking at the different color profiles. A little bit of red in the mountains. Let me pick vivid and then go down here to red. See if that brings it out a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit of a push here. I think that's it. So that's the original on the left. It's a bit underexposed, which it's probably on purpose to preserve the highlights. And, you know, just brighten up the people over here. This side of the image is way too heavy. It's just not doing anything for me over here. So that's why I went with this vertical crop. And because I had to process it as a TIFF, I wasn't able to do any of the noise reduction or optical corrections for sharpening, all of those things that DxO does when it demosaics a raw image. Because I think this was a small raw. Because I know the Canon 70D is certainly in the database, but only the full raw image, not the variant of that, the small raw or compressed raw. But okay, I think that's all of them. So that was awesome, guys. We finished right on. Whoa, I'm a little bit behind, but I do need to get going. But thank you so much for sending your images for me to edit. It's always a lot of fun for me to see all these beautiful images you guys send in. And hopefully in return, I was able to show you a few tips and tricks, or, you know, how I edit and do my workflow and some of the tools in DxO. And as always, you know, I'm here every week to support my viewers that bought DxO. If you haven't bought it yet, I have my affiliate links down below with a 15% discount code. So as part of that, you know, you'll see me here every week editing images and providing support the best I can. So thanks everyone for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I'll be back this Sunday. Stay tuned. I have Jimmy, I think it's Jimmy West, as a special guest this weekend. So come in for that live stream as well. And then next week, Tuesday, I have my shopping stream. So I did update my shopping pages. So be sure to bookmark them, robtrek.com/deals and robtrek.com/deal20. Those are all affiliate links and I earn commissions, so I really appreciate the support. Thanks so much for watching. But most important, have a good day. Try to do that every day and you'll have a good life, right? Eat healthy and exercise. And I hope to see you guys all again soon.